I couldn't be more thrilled to be hosting this conversation at Silicon Slopes because this conversation is so important. And because of, this has been a rough year for our community. And it's an interesting challenge and an interesting problem, which is why we're here, to figure out how we can solve it. In that there's no like obvious, easy solution. As tech people, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, we look for like the obvious solution and we just grab it. And there isn't one here. And that's why I think conversations like this are important. And please thank Brandy for putting all of this together today. So we are in an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. The Surgeon General says 1 in 2 adults suffer from loneliness and isolation. 1 in 2. So half of us here. We got to do something about it. I'm not exactly sure what we should do about it, but I'm glad all of you are here who are so much smarter than I am, and these panelists are here so we can try to figure it out. So thank you so much. Please give it up for Brandy one more time.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Wow, I am honored that you guys have all come today. It really touches my heart. And this is something that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really nervous right now. This is a scary place for me to be. But there was a quote last year that really struck me, and it was by Da Vinci. He says, "I've been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do." And I think you guys are all in the room because you're the doers. Am I right? Am I right? Okay. Well, I'm glad that you guys are here. So the goal for me this year is, I've been working on a lot of stuff, and Clint hosted a town hall, a mental health town hall in August. And there was great panelists, and we spoke about it. And then it was like, well, then what? Then what? I am the Synergy's chairman for the Stop Stigma Together campaign with Huntsman Mental Health. And I've been on this group for the past couple of years. And this year is a year that I really want us to focus from awareness to action and accountability. And that's the plan with what we're doing here today. So thank you so much to Clint Betts. And then I want to just tell you kind of what our rundown is going to be. We're going to hear remarks from Jeremy Brown, Mary Kraft, John Moore, Pam Hayes. We have Nate Randle, Alyssa Mitchell, and Steve James. That'll be the order. Once we're done with that, we will be doing a Q&A, and we invite you guys again to take the microphone, and you can ask any of us any questions that stem from our conversation. So my name is Brandy Vega. Some of you know me from my video production studio or my days in TV. I used to be a newscaster. I was in the Army as a broadcast journalist in public affairs. And now I started Good Deed Revolution in 2015. After I almost lost somebody I love, I shifted our mission to Promise2Live. It's our campaign. And I'm so nervous right now to share this video with you guys, and I apologize. We can't get it on the big screen, but we have it right here. This is a video where I'm the most uncomfortable and vulnerable I've ever been in my entire life. This is a video that landed me on the stage here today. This is a video I never wanted to share with anyone, but if I'm not willing to be vulnerable in front of you, how can I expect you to be vulnerable with other people? So take a listen to this video on my why.
I almost lost my 14-year-old to suicide last night, and I was one of 10 parents last night, and I'm one of about 10 new parents tonight. There are well over 20 kids right now at Primary Children's in Salt Lake that have attempted suicide in the last 24 hours. If a friend of my daughter's had not have called the police, and the police rang my doorbell last night at 10:45, I would have found my daughter dead this morning. This is not the very first time. This happened 2 years ago. I wasn't going to share any of this because it's too painful and it's too personal, but at the same time, kids are attempting suicide right now at record levels, and I just want you to check on your kid because I don't want you to not have a second chance like I have a second chance right now. And with that second chance, we've got to find a treatment facility and here's the thing. I'm very passionate about suicide. I have taught suicide awareness for years, and I can't believe this has happened to me. And I know what to look for, and it's happening right now, and the doctors and nurses can't even keep up. They couldn't even find a bed for my baby last night. She's been incoherent for 24 hours. I can't talk to her because she doesn't understand. And it's hard because when you look at them, you see your little baby. You see the fun-loving, happy kid, and you know that it's buried in there somewhere. And you just want to help them come back out of that. So, we're losing too many kids. I don't want to lose mine.
And I don't want you to lose yours. I shared that video in my car in the Primary Children's parking lot almost 3 years ago on my personal Facebook page because I knew other people had gone through it. And that video got 12,000 views overnight. I had hundreds of messages from people just like you, friends that I never knew were going through anything. But now because I shared it, I was a safe place. And that really opened the door for me. What we have done now, our mission, this transformed what I was doing with Good Deed Revolution. And so now our mission is to deliver hope, help, healing, inspiration, and resources through media on a mass scale. And this is what we have been doing. What I want to present to you guys today is a blueprint for addressing this in our communities. There's 4 primary stakeholders that we really want to talk to and with on this. It's organizations and companies, individuals, families, and communities. And we'll talk about the 5 pillars. So after that video aired, my friends at KSL called me at NBC and they said, Brandy, will you share your story on the news? I said, no, no way, I'm not sharing this on the news. You want me to share my biggest failure? I said no. But I was also in the hospital room praying to God, please save my daughter. I'll do anything you want me to do. I will do anything. Please save her. I can't lose her. And I got the inspiration that said, Brandy, I'll give you a second chance. There won't be a third. What are you going to do? Shortly after that, my daughter woke up. And I held her hand and I said, babe, are you glad you're alive or do you wish you would have died? And she said, Mom, I didn't really want to die, but it was too late. People don't want to die. They want to kill what's hurting them. And this is what we have to come together and say, okay, this isn't about you wanting to end your life. It's about you wanting to end your pain. How can we do that? So I met with other nonprofits and other groups, and I said, what can I do for you? I have a studio, I have a nonprofit, I'll do anything you need. My daughter was in the hospital quite a while. We were in uni for quite a while, Huntsman Mental Health. We went to day treatment. This was not a short process. During that time, about 2 weeks later, KSL called me again and they said, Brandy, nobody will talk about this. It's such a huge problem and nobody will talk about it. Will you please reconsider? Well, what's the power of a promise? I promised him if he saved her, I'd do whatever he wanted. They're calling me again, is this a test? So I reluctantly did this interview with my other daughter. And while I was there, and here's what I thought too, I was terrified. If I'm terrified, I'm used to being in front of the cameras. I've done it my whole career. What does a normal person feel like? And if not me, who? So I did this interview, and I said, if you're watching right now, stop what you're doing and go check on your loved one. Check on your kid. Ask them point blank, are you suicidal? Honest questions get honest answers. After this aired, that night, I got a message on my phone from a father who said, "You just saved my daughter's life." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I saw your story. I ran into her room. I felt this urgency, the same urgency I wake up with every day." He went and checked on her. She had written her note. She was in the process of trying to end her life. They were at the hospital. Another family reached out to me and said, "We saw your story on the news. Thank you for being vulnerable. We talked to our son. He confessed he had a plan to end his life this weekend. We're getting him help." So if my little story on local news could save 2 out of 20 or 30,000 that saw it, I thought, well, what if we could reach more people? What if we could reach 200,000 or 2 million? And so I put together this event, and we got influencers, survivors, CEOs, everybody to come together and just talk about this. And we did our thing last year. We reached 160,000 people. Thank you. Thank you. And we put it together this year, and you're going to see a few familiar faces. We ran our show this year, and we're still tallying the numbers, but we're closer to 400,000. So I want to show you guys just a quick highlight. This is one of the pillars of what we're doing with Promise to Live. Hi, my name is Brandy Vega. I am the founder of Good Deed Revolution and the Promise to Live campaign. Our mission is to deliver hope, help, healing, and resources through media that helps us start conversations, stop the stigma, and save lives.
We love you. We will never be better without you.
Every 40 seconds, someone dies by suicide. In that same amount of time, you can take the promise to live and share it on social media. It's something so simple yet significant. It's a tangible way everyone getting involved can actually do something for suicide prevention.
And we're here to remind you that you're perfect.
I think a lot of people struggle with their self-image, especially today now that social media plays such a prominent role in everybody's daily lives.
You see, we got to get rid of the stigma. We have to start having a conversation. We have to make that promise, that one to another, that I'm going to be here for you.
There are people, I promise you, there are people in your life right now who do love you. They love you. You are loved. And there's a God in heaven all around you who loves you more than we can possibly imagine. I promise that's the truth.
You are about to listen to one of my most vulnerable songs yet.
Just doing my best, working the steps, let's fake smiling.
And remember that no matter how many dark nights come, and how dark that night is, the sun will always rise and shine its light on you and me, and that we can make it.
So if you're down, just hold on for help. People love you. They're going to be there for you. They'll help you if you awaken all of us to the pain you're feeling.
Hold on to your life. It's a precious gift, and it's given to you by God. It's your gift. Don't give it away.
Every single storm runs out of rain. And the key to being anchored in the midst of those tough times is hope.
All is not lost, all is not lost. Hope isn't canceled. I said, hope isn't canceled.
We all have our struggles and strengths, but the world is better because you are in it. And there's nothing we can't get through together. So please stay, and stay tuned to our heartfelt and inspired show, made perfectly just for you.
Promise to live. Make that promise today.
Please.
Promise to live.
How many of you, some of you guys were at the theater and were able to see this. How many of you have seen the show? There's a few of you in here. Thank you, and thank you guys for helping to make this possible. I have a lot of my team here. what we did is we have a children's show for kids by kids. We have a teen show for teens by teens and an adult show. We feel like it's really important to reach people where they are. So we've done something innovative that other groups have not done. The suicide rate for teens, and this isn't just about teens, right? Like I can say we all know somebody, no matter what age they are, young, old, rich, poor, black, white, that we've lost. But the suicide rate has gone up 70% in teenagers since 2010. Why? I'm just gonna take a guess and say lack of connection, social media, smartphones. And so what we're doing is we're delivering these messages through the people, through companies, through influencers, and we're streaming on their platforms to reach the people that already know and trust them. And we're letting them know about these resources. So I wanna just briefly talk about the 5 pillars, and then I'm gonna turn the time over. The 5 pillars that we have for Good Deed Revolution and Promise to Live. The first one is the Promise to Live campaign. He said it, every 40 seconds we lose somebody to suicide. In that same amount of time, you can take the promise to live and share it on social media. If you make a promise ahead of time, there's some studies out there that say you're up to maybe 60% more likely. And I just want to tell you a story because I was struggling last week. 2 weeks ago, my friend's son took his life. 35 years old, and they had to speak at his funeral. And I had just found out the news. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I said, you know, I don't know if I can do this. And I don't know if what I'm doing matters or makes a difference. She was on my team. She goes, Brandy, my cousin reached out to me last week, and he said, I'm just calling you right now because I made a promise. I made a promise to live, and I'm in a dark place, and I need help. That, to me, showed me that this is working, that at least for someone out there, this is something. So we have the campaign. National campaign. We want everyone everywhere to do it, whether or not you struggle. All you're saying is if I find myself in a dark place, I promise I'm gonna reach out to someone, anyone, friend, family member, resource 988. That's all you're doing, and you're sharing it to be that safe place. The second part of it is the show. We do it every September 10th. The third pillar is a quarterly concert and expert series. The fourth is partnerships and resources. So we're teaming up with a lot of people to try to bridge the gap. Waiting for clinicians is still a 6 week to 18 months. So we're trying to provide resources at your fingertips through AI, through self-guided therapy, and other tools. So we're working with that and with some of our partners with resources and content. And then our fifth one is community events like this. We plan to hold these monthly. Our next one is scheduled for January 18th. But the point of this is getting together, talking about what's going on, having actionable items, supporting one another, but we want ambassadors. We want people in every community. I did an event last night with 100 women, and we did the Pocket Hug Project. So everyone who came in today should have gotten a pocket hug, and it says on there, if things are hard and you don't know what to do, here's a hug from me to you. If you're struggling, call or text 988. Keep that with you, share it. We had personalized letters. These are gonna be community events. I carried that thing in my pocket for 2 months until I gave it to my friend when she needed it most, and that got her through her son's funeral, at least for the moment. So my goal again here, before I turn it over to our next speaker, Jeremy, is we're trying to figure out how can we create a community of collaboration. Together we can do so much more than we can individually. And what I've found is there's a lot of silos and a lot of people doing good things. But this isn't about ego, it's about impact. This isn't about money, it's about meaning. We need to save lives, we need to come together, we need to rally, because if it hasn't knocked at your door yet, it will. And our whole thing here is we want to focus on not either or, we want to focus on and with. With you, we can do more. So thank you for being here today, and I'm going to turn the time over to Jeremy.
Thanks, Brandy. I really appreciate it. That was awesome. I'm a big crier, so that was not fun, and I'll try to get through mine without crying, but it's such a great message and so wonderful to be here. My name is Jeremy Brown. I'm from a little company called Avec Me, and we have a book called Connection Cures Contention, but it also has a huge message about making connections and building neighborhoods. And that's what we're trying to share with people, is you need to make the effort to get out and reach out to people and try to get with other people. And we have a very simple message. It's funny because people always talk about, oh, you're going to fix connections, it's going to take all this work and all these incredible processes. No, it's very simple. All we really want you to do is to focus on the individuals. And the first thing is talk with them. Be curious about who they are, what they do. And then I want you to think about working with them and do something with them. Actually take a little bit of time to be next to them. And once you do that, I want you to build something with them. Be imaginative and work on something and put some thought into it. And then finally, I want you to walk with them and be linked. That you forever will have a connection with them, that they know who you are and they know where they belong. Because the largest problem we have is isolation in the workplace and in the family. People don't feel connected. They don't know how to make that connection to other people. And so we're trying to make it so you can just have a very simple process to get people to open it up and become part of your neighborhood. And to really help you connect and solve problems in your organization, in your family, in your friends, in your real neighborhood. All these things can be done very simply if you just take the time. Be curious. It's the first step. Be curious, and it's amazing how many times you reach out and try to find someone and make that connection with somebody. Because there's something you have in common, something you want to share with somebody else. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Love the message. Love everything that happens here. I lost my little nephew. I'm not going to be able to get through this. And it was tragic. Because we had worked with him for years. We knew what was happening, and we did everything possible. And we still weren't able to help. But at the end of the day, there's so many people we can help. And so many people we can reach out to. And it all starts with connections. If they're not connected at work and in their family and in their neighborhood or anywhere else, they get into that dark place. And we can help people make those connections. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Such a great program. And go ahead to the next person. Mary.
Thank you so much for being here and for joining with us in Promise to Live. Promise to Live is, for me, such a wonderful organization because we're actually giving tools to people of what they can do to help. Everyone wants to help, right? Someone said to you, do you want to help teenage suicide? What would you say? Yes. So what are you going to do? Would you have the answers? Not always. Not always. That's what I hope happens here today. So teenage suicide has grown 71%. I want that to, Brandy mentioned this, I want to come into your brain. 71% since 2010. Now that happens to coincide with the advent of social media, but who am I to say that? But fear is not new. Fear is something that's been with us from the beginning. And the number one thing, after every fear you can list, fear of public speaking, fear of not having enough money, fear of being bankrupt, fear of being overweight, fear of being rejected, fear of failure, fear of losing your wife, losing your husband, whatever that fear is, it all comes down to one. One. And that fear is people are so afraid they are not enough. If you were enough, would you ever worry about losing your job? If you were enough, would you ever worry about one of your children having teenage suicide? But because we worry that we're not enough, we're not reaching out. We don't think we're enough to help these problems. Suicide is not new to me. At age 18 in 1971, going into my first year of college, I attempted suicide twice. Not that I really wanted to die, but I really wanted help. I wanted a connection. I wanted somebody to say, you matter, Mary, and you can stay with us, and we're going to help you walk this path. So twice I went to the emergency room on college campus. Twice I had my stomach pumped. Twice they saved me. But was I really saved? Not really, because I still had that fear I wasn't enough. Fast forward, I come out to BYU, I graduate, I do another self-fulfilling prophecy and get into a marriage that's not working. And all he wants to do is what? Commit suicide. I felt like I was surrounded by this. I went through my entire life of 50 years, now I'm 70, so for 50 years, with that fear of not being enough. And I was aware of it every single day. Today when I woke up and thought about coming here, it was wonderful to realize that I wasn't afraid and that I had passed through that fear. Not that I'm still not afraid, and not that sometimes I still don't think I'm not enough, but I've walked through the process far enough that I can begin to help. We don't ask you to be perfect, because no one is. We just ask you to help. The biggest key for me with this belongs right here. It's my favorite phrase I've ever uttered out of my mouth on 300 podcasts and in my book and in every place I talk. This is my favorite phrase, and it goes like this. The healing starts when the hiding stops. These fears happen when you're hiding. We are so afraid of not being enough that we hide who we are. We rely on social media to show us what we should be. I had someone say to me one time, Mary, you're the most photogenic person I've ever seen. Every picture of you on Facebook is so beautiful. And I said, duh, I don't post the bad ones. Right? So what do we see on social media and on my Facebook and on everybody's Facebook? We see the best I've got to give. And we think that's what my life is like. Well, my partner, soon-to-be husband, John, can tell you that it's not like that. That we all have those things. But I'm moving through it because I've chosen not to hide anymore. And that's what I ask everyone to do. The hiding is what keeps us stuck. The moment we step out and say, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. In fact, sometimes my life's a shit show. But I am beautiful. And I am the best I can bring. And tomorrow, I'm going to look in that mirror and say, don't hide from the world, shine your light. Many of you in this room are also speakers. Many of you have been on podcasts. Many of you have done things like that. And probably a good number of you have been asked this question, because I've been asked it a lot. What would you tell your 15-year-old self? This is what I say. I say, don't be afraid to fail. Because it's in your failing that your greatest lessons are learned. You think that you have to be perfect, Mary? You think you have to be showing people only what you want to see and you don't want them to see the ugliness inside? Well, fail as often as you can. How much growth did you receive from laying on a beach last time? Oh, yeah, I got this one. I'm made in the shade. Ba-ba. No growth happens there. Not that it's not fabulous, and not that I don't want to do it, but no growth happens there. Growth happens when I thought I was going to lose my business. Growth happens when I see one of my children struggling. Growth happens when I went through a divorce. Growth happens when I wake up every morning and I struggle to get out of bed because my arthritis is killing me. Let me rephrase that. I'm rephrasing that in my life. Because my arthritis is providing another struggle for me to grow from. I make a promise to live. My struggle is no longer with suicide, but my struggle is for something else. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to heal. Because the healing starts when the hiding stops. And I'm doing that with you, and I invite you to do it with everyone you know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was beautiful. I am also a man of many tears, so bear with me. I have some notes here because I have been known to go off topic. So I'm gonna keep to that. So I have a question. How many of you brushed your teeth this morning? Raise your hand. No shame. Okay, so almost everybody, okay? How many of you did breath work, meditation, anything to improve your mental health this morning? Sweet, okay. There's a few, but we have some work to do. So in the early 1900s, I was shocked to find this out, only 7% of American households brushed their teeth, which is disgusting to me. During World War I, most of the Army recruits had such poor oral hygiene that the military considered dental disease a national crisis. There was then a calculated effort to show the need for brushing teeth. One company that sold toothpaste advertised so well that they created a new habit of brushing teeth daily throughout the United States and the world. It was at this time that people started brushing their teeth. 10 years after the initial launch, the initial campaign, more than 65% of Americans developed a daily habit of brushing their teeth. By the end of World War II, the American military downgraded their concern for oral hygiene because so many recruits had established a daily brushing routine. Now, what does this have to do with anything that we're talking about? Well, we'll get there. One more example. Let's talk about cigarettes and tobacco. Over the weekend, my good friend Clay Olson informed me that it took about 100 years of research, discussion, debate to finally get to the point where everybody now understands that tobacco is horrible for you. It kills you. We all believe that. There's not really a debate anymore. Similarly, there's another fight with pornography, right? We're more in the middle of that right now, unfortunately. But here in Utah, something we should be proud of, our governor in April 2016, Governor Herbert, made Utah the first state in the nation to declare pornography a public health crisis. Despite the extensive science on its harmfulness, how it ruins relationships, it's still controversial. But since then, 16 states have followed suit. We are on our pursuit there. Now, let's bring that all in and talk about why that's relevant to mental health. We're still in the middle of getting past stigmas about mental health. And I'm in the men's mental health field, so I will speak to that. I think especially with men's mental health, because we are not known to be as in tune with our emotions as the ladies, that it's not recognized as well for men to be able to express themselves, their emotions. And so mental health for men is this big no-no to talk about. So we have quite a bit of work to do. On May 3rd of this year, the U.S. Surgeon General declared, as Clint was telling us, a new public health crisis, an epidemic of loneliness. 2 days earlier, on May 1st, my partners, Justin Bray and Mike Allen, and we officially launched the Here Brotherhood. Here as in H-E-A-R-E. I am here to hear. We did that to fight male loneliness and provide spaces to be heard, spaces for connection, and for brotherhood. Years of prep went into that launch. Almost at the same time, 2 years ago, without yet knowing each other, Justin, my partner, was contemplating suicide. I was writing a 23-page research paper in my master's program about male loneliness, connection, and the art of the bromance. All at the same time, Mike, my other partner, was in a wrestle that led to him figuring out that a big part of his passion was in helping people to be still, doing breath work, and to practice mental wellness. All these experiences over the last couple of years and more led us to the creation of Here Brotherhood. We saw that men were 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women, and that depression rates were skyrocketing among men. Since May, I'm happy to report that more than 12,000 people have signed our Brotherhood Oath, pledging to be their brother's keeper. Thank you. I'm getting dry mouth here. They've pledged to be their brother's keeper and to reach out. It's similar to the pledge of Promise2Live. We've held more than 45 events since then, half in-person, half virtual. We've launched 3 apparel collections for awareness for men's mental health, fighting those stigmas. And we've become a global brotherhood with men representing every habitable continent and more than 32 countries. We've held our first retreats in Midway, in Franklin, Idaho, and near Zions National Park. And a big one, we've developed and launched the Here Brotherhood app. And all of this is to talk about this resource that we have developed over this year. This app is one solution to the many solutions that we felt that there was a need for. This Here Brotherhood app, in some ways, is a mental fitness gym. In other words, it is social media. We don't call it social media because that has a negative stigma with mental health. We call it social support app. It's a social support place to go for men to share their experiences, what they're dealing with. In other ways, it's a mental toothbrush or a mental hygiene tool where men can symbolically, I guess, brush their teeth. And I'll show you what that means. On this app, like I said, it's social support, but we have every morning and evening a mental check-in. So men every morning and evening are telling us where they're at. And you can see your progress, right? And when somebody marks that they're doing low, it's not anonymous. So then they are bombarded with all of the amazing men in our community who reach out for support. And a lot of times it's just about being seen and being heard. And that's sometimes all that we need. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we go live on our app at about 9 o'clock in the morning, just for about 15 minutes. And we share insights, we share some inspirational stories, messages. And then Mike, our partner, he leads us through a meditation or breathing exercises, through gratitude practices, journaling, things to start us off on the right foot. Then one of my favorite parts of the app is an anonymous question section, where men can ask the unaskables, the unmentionables that we won't talk about. Even in the most vulnerable places, sometimes we just aren't comfortable to ask certain questions. We get questions every day. They're asking about pornography, about marriage, sex, same-sex attraction, fidelity, becoming a better father. The list goes on. And I'll wrap up here. I just want to share a private message that I got that was extremely impactful for me, and in a time when I wasn't sure if we were making a difference. He texted me, he said, 2 weeks ago, I realized that I had 2 choices. I could either kill myself and let my life insurance pay off all my debts, or I could file for bankruptcy. Even though I only know about 5 people in here, I didn't want any of them to think that they had somehow failed me or the movement. So I opted for the latter option. I've skipped all of the check-ins because I'm proud and stubborn, but I have read every one every single day. I just wanted you to know that even though you may not think you're accomplished all that much on any given day, you are. I'm here today because of you. This may sound really weird to say, and to be honest, I'm crying as I type this, but I love you, John, for what you do and are. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you. This message, we get messages like this. Just because we're opening up, just because we're providing a spaces, we're not unique in providing spaces. There's so many people that are providing spaces for men and women to do this, to just have a little bit of vulnerability and say, hey, here, you don't have to prove anything. You're safe here. Your man card isn't going to get clipped here just for saying that you're struggling. So we have an opportunity before us, and Utah, as we've seen, has led the way in so many technological advances, in advocacy, in so many movements. And I truly believe that the collaborative nature and the goodness of Utahns provides a unique opportunity for us to be able to make a huge difference in leading the way in a world where mental hygiene and mental wellness is just as normal as brushing your teeth, just as normal as all the things that we have made habitual. And I see that world happening and starting from here, but obviously we need legislation surrounding social media. We need legislation surrounding pornography, all of these things that are detrimental to our mental health. And we need more funding. We need more donations to Promise2Live, funding for Here Brotherhood, and in an effort to be able to reach as many people as we possibly can. And I truly believe that with the brightest minds that we have here in Utah, and the collaboration, the money that exists here in Silicon Slopes, in Utah in general, that collaboration, the money, and the bright minds that we have here, we can have just the same impact that the advertising campaigns had 100 years ago to get people to brush their teeth. So thank you. I appreciate you all listening and for being here. So thank you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Brandy, for bringing everybody together. I'm Pam with Stand for Kind. We work with schools nationwide on anti-bullying, mental health, suicide awareness, leadership, and self-care. We're in over 8,000 schools, with more schools coming on, getting the training. We start with staff, teachers, and parents and students. It's so important for us to all come together from a community, from a city, from a business, to reach out and start talking about it, make it our norm, make it posters everywhere. Everybody knows where to go to get help, because usually when a student's in crisis, it's at midnight, and what does a parent do? It just breaks my heart, because recently, Monday, I got a call from a community not too far away from here that's lost 10 adults since September and 7 high school kids from a high school that has less than 1,000 students. And we have to give them the resources. And we don't want to come in after the fact. We want to make sure that everybody's educated and has the tools and resources ahead of time so that we can prevent it. It is preventable. And as Brandy was saying, they don't want to complete suicide. They want the pain to end. And connection's so key. So with our program, donors started asking us to come out to the businesses, start getting in there. Let's talk to the parents and our employees to make sure they have the resources. We do lunch and learns. We come in and have an app that allows employees to have connection, live broadcasts, access to crisis, all the resources in their community. And we've got the pledge, so you can take a pledge on there as well. It's just so we can start hitting the schools, the community. It's our norm that we're talking about mental health. It's brushing your teeth. And that statistic, not good. No, we want to brush our teeth. We want to take care of ourselves every day. To have that in our schools, we can't lose another child. The youngest child in a family that reached out to us, 7 years old, he was going to commit. A 7-year-old should not know what suicide is. And he was talking to his dad, and he says, I just want to die at 7 years old. We have to make it our norm. It's our norm talking about mental health, so these kids know where to go, where to get their resources, and that their parents have that as well. So I appreciate Brandy setting this up. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Nate. I'm a dad of 4. I've been married 23 years, and my family means more to me than anything. And I'm so grateful for the invite to be here today. Brandy, you're a force. Thank you for caring. Thank you for caring, and to everybody here, it's an honor to be with you. I want to share a couple of brief thoughts today that are very close to what I do for my profession. I work with the incredible team at Gab, and we build safe tech for kids. And I'm not here to pitch tech, but I'm here to tell you that tech is a problem in your homes. Whether you're a parent of children or an aunt or uncle or guardian of children, they're in trouble. They feel like they're drowning. They feel like they're alone. And so much of it is happening because of this tech. You've heard these stats today, and there is a direct correlation. Suicide is up 71% since 2010 in our youth. And listen to this crazy fact. Right now in the US, 71% of kids by the time they're 12 have a smartphone. 71 and 71. Those phones that our 12-year-olds are getting were never built for them. The major carriers and the companies building tech are not sitting in rooms debating how they can make tech safer for our kids. They make money, profit trillions of dollars by presenting dangers and addictions to our kids, and if they hook them, they make more money. So here's my ask, and it's very simple. We're in a connected world. We've never been more connected. In your pocket right now, you have a device that gives you access to emails, calls, texts, Slack, Snapchat, chat chats, group chats. There are more ways to get in touch with people than we've ever had before. And yet 1 in 2 people in this room feel more lonely than you've ever felt before. Why in such a connected world do we feel so alone? Because we're completely disconnected. In a world of ultimate digital connection, we are more disconnected than we've ever been. And so my ask, even if it's for a short period of time during this holiday season, find moments to connect by disconnecting. I'm in this every day. We're talking to your kids. I talk to parents every day. The stories are overwhelming. Please don't use devices as the excuse of how you're connecting to your kids. Put your devices down and find moments this holiday season to be very intentional with disconnecting. Your kids are begging. They're never going to ask you. They won't say mom and dad or grandma or grandpa or aunt or uncle or whoever may be their caretaker. They're not going to proactively come to you and say, could we please have periods of time during the holidays where we all put our phones down and disconnect? Is a 14-year-old going to ask you to do that? No. You have to take the lead, and you have to say, these are moments where we're going to watch a holiday movie together or go to a holiday experience or just sit down at the kitchen table and play a game. And there are no devices. And I promise you, if you'll plan moments to disconnect so you can connect, you'll find light in your kids' eyes. They will be so excited that you've proactively made that effort. I'm grateful you're all here today. It's a big step to come. A lot of people hide in the corners and they don't want to be connected to something as challenging and as personal as mental health. And I've found as I get older that my mental health is more valuable to me than anything else. And I want to make sure that my kids and my family know that it's safe and okay to be able to talk about where you're at. Yesterday, I could tell my 16-year-old son was struggling. High school's hard, so hard. And I walked into the house after a long day, and I wanted to sit down and check out, and I could just see on his face that he was struggling. I said, get up off the couch. He's like, Dad, I'm just chilling. What? Come on, man, get up off the couch. And I just hugged him. And I held it for him. I was comfortable. But I held it for an uncomfortably long period of time for a 16-year-old. And then I pushed back from him and I said, I love you. He said, what's that for? And I said, because I love you. We've got to do more of that. Disconnect to connect. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Mitchell. I work for the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm also a member of the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition. And a quick thank you to Brandy for inviting me to be here today to talk about such an important topic. I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude for all of the people that are up here on this stage, sharing their personal stories and talking about all the good work that they're doing. And I also want to be able to share with all of you here today some of the great work and the resources and tools that we have available to you through the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition. But I'd actually like to start with a story first as to how important and why I feel this is so important. I've actually worked in the world of suicide prevention for 9 years. Some of those have been with the Department of Health and Human Services, and the rest of it was actually at a local health department. But throughout this time, a big part of my job has been to go out and teach the communities around Utah about important tools on how to have conversations about suicide. One of the particular lesson that I'm going to talk about today was called QPR. But I was asked many years ago to go and do a QPR training, a question, persuade, refer training for an organization for their staff. And I went and we had a good turnout. We had many great employees that were there. What I found, though, about a month and a half later was that I got a phone call one day while I was at work, and I answered the phone, and this person says to me, he said, "You are the one who came to do the suicide prevention training, right?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Is there something I can help you with?" And he took a deep breath, and I could hear in the background that there was someone crying. This man, a manager, a leader in his team, was sitting in his office with an employee who was having a breakdown and having thoughts of self-harm and suicide. And this manager said, "I missed your training. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." And so I worked with him to talk with the employee, to figure out if there were, what his plan was, who was in his life that he could reach out to, and connected him to some suicide prevention resources local to him. And after that phone call, a part of me thought, well, I'm glad that I did the training with this group. I'm glad we were able to help that man, but I felt like we missed a huge opportunity with that training. So a few months later, the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition worked with a partner to bring in a different type of training that was for employers, for managers, for human resource representatives within their own organization. And it was a huge game changer for us, being able to have people within leadership, within organizations, recognizing how important suicide prevention was and asking for more resources and being able to provide them with tools to help their employees was a game changer. How many of you in here are a manager, a leader within your organization? Okay, there's a few of you here. And the rest of you, how many of you are just a regular employee who works maybe 8 hours a day or more? Anyone? All of them? Something interesting to know is that 2/3 of the US adults work. We are of working age, we have a job, we go to work every day, we come home. We get to know the colleagues and the other employees that we work with. We've developed relationships with these people. I also want to tell you that 80% of the suicides that occur are in the working age adult population, anywhere between the ages of 18 to 65. So today, the information that I want to share with you is how important not only is suicide prevention in your personal life, but it's important for your organization. You see and work with your coworkers, your supervisors, your leadership, day in and day out. By being able to feel like you're a part of a community is so important. And from a leadership standpoint, you'll see when your employees are struggling. You want to ensure that they feel valued and important. So one major resource that we have really been focusing on with the Suicide Prevention Coalition is our Suicide Prevention in the Workforce Toolkit. I have one copy right here. You can actually find it online. This Suicide Prevention in the Workforce Toolkit was developed in partnership with the Salt Lake City Chamber of Commerce by business leaders, for business leaders to be able to empower their employees, to make them feel that they are important and that they can go and access resources within their workplace. This is a step-by-step instruction on how to evaluate where your organization is at. For example, what type of benefits do you offer? Do your employees actually know what those benefits are and how to access them? I mean, I worked at a job where I didn't even know we had an EAP program until 5 years into it. That's not that uncommon for people. So being able to assess where you are can help organizations build a roadmap on how to improve your employees' mental health and well-being. So what I would also like to encourage you all, in addition to just going to liveonutah.org to look this up, is to reach out to me after this conversation today if you're interested in implementing suicide prevention in your workplace. The coalition has a specific work group. This is a group of businesses and other community health experts who get together to provide technical assistance and resources to other businesses to get started on their suicide prevention plan and their mental health plans within the workplace. We have had a huge increase in our construction industry. We would love to expand even beyond that and bring in other fields as well that have high rates of suicide. So I encourage all of you today to take advantage of the resources that everyone behind me has talked about today, and this resource too. We are happy to help. We have the tools and resources to be able to empower you to make changes and to benefit the people that you work with. Thank you.
Hello, I am Steve James. I am the CEO and owner of Resilient You, and I am very honored to be here. I'm very honored to also serve on Brandy's board for Promise2Live. I'm honored to partner with Promise2Live that focuses especially with the suicide message and Promise2Live for the secondary school students all the way up to adults of all ages and families. And kind of where we fit in, especially with this partnership, is we focus on elementary age kids. I heard a saying a long time ago that says we really need to build fences at the top of the cliffs in hopes of not having to send ambulances to the bottom. And if we look at some of the statistics that are even here within the state of Utah, with a recent SHARP survey that came out, which was an interview of more than 51,000 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade students, the survey results are as follows. 76.7% of our children were moderately to severely depressed. It's over 38,000 kids. 53% almost were in moderate to severe need of mental health treatment immediately. 17.6% considered attempting suicide in the last year. 13.2% had a plan, and over 7.3% attempted at least once. And with those sobering thoughts, I applaud every single person that's here. We, in fact, through Resilient You, are encouraging all of our secondary students up to adults and families to take the Promise2Live. And for the elementary school kids, we have to teach them in a very specific way that's so important. Through positivity rather than focus on, you can't go to an elementary school and say don't commit suicide. But what you can say is don't give up. It's a promise to keep on trying, which is what we do, and that's what we're trying to do. But the question is how especially do we reach the elementary kids as well? And you know, if you ask yourself how you learned your ABCs, there's a power to music. I want everyone just to kind of sing it. I don't care if you sing off tune, but if everyone can just repeat after me, I am resilient. That's okay. Well, let's try it again. That was a warm-up. Here we go. I am resilient.
I am resilient.
I have the power to overcome.
I have the power to overcome.
Wow, your voice didn't even crack like mine just did. That's incredible. How do we incorporate music, especially with our kids, to be able to brand these specific messages? Music's used all the time through the record industry to brand both positive as well as negative messages as well. Okay, I'm gonna just do a little kind of fun exercise here. I'm gonna start something, and then I want you to finish it, and please sing with that vigor that you just did. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Give me a break, give me a break.
Break me on a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Wow, I'm impressed. Okay, that's good. Here we go. Let's go back in time just a little bit more. I am stuck on Band-Aids because... Now I'm going to really test to see how old you are. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper, we're a pepper.
Would you like to be a pepper too?
That's, I even got the rest of the song back there. This is incredible. Okay, what about this? My baloney has a first name. It's I'm impressed. I mean, we even have some of the young ones out there singing this song. How long has it been since some of you, okay, what about this? When I was a little kid, I knew how to make a hamburger. 2 all beef patty special. Okay, now there's some young ones kind of shaking their heads going, I've never heard that before. And how long ago has it been? How long has it been since you've heard that? Decades since it's been on the air. And yet your brain immediately retrieved that. We have what's called the Resilience Building Toolkit, which is here. And we are excited to use the power of music and media to be able to create events and experiences with families. We want parents to sit down with their kids and connect, just like you said, just like we heard. We want parents to open up communication about the subjects that we're worried about. And we want to keep our kids and protect our kids from these risky behaviors, and we can do this through music. And that's why we partnered with Resilient You, and we produce, well, Brandy and I, we work together all the time. We're producing, 2 television shows, even as we speak. An upcoming Christmas show on the 23rd of December called Hope for the Holidays, and an upcoming global stream called The Parent Link. But we use music and media and all of these wonderful tools that we do have to be able to get parents to open up dialogue with their kids, to set goals. And research shows that's the number one thing that they can do to protect our kids is to open up that communication, to connect, and then to set clear guidelines with respect to those things. We have what's called the Resilience Building Toolkit, which we'll talk about just a second in closing. But we also have our Hope for the Holidays television show that's coming up. Brandy, we're really excited about that. Appreciate your partnership. And we also promote these wonderful messages there. We have our live events. We also have our Resilient Utah Month, which is governor declared, with a lot of events. This last year we focused on Promise2Live, and we'll continue to try to get all secondary students to be able to take the Promise2Live along with their parents. And we also just finished our Shield Awards presentation this last week. We're so excited about the opportunity, though, to send this Resilience Building Toolkit to the homes of parents and families where the parents can sit down with their kids, open up dialogue about these subjects, and be able to make specific goals to help protect our children and to help them make a promise to never give up and eventually the promise to live a wonderful life. Let's go ahead, Sean, with the commercial.
I am resilient. I have the power to overcome.
Resilience is the ability to withstand adversity and bounce back from difficult situations. We've been through some hard times, and look how far we've come. We are resilient. We are strong, and it's vital that we teach our children that they can overcome life's challenges. Discover ways to build lasting resilience in your children through the power of music on resilientyou.org.
I am resilient.
Building resilience is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit resilientyou.org and click on the Resilience Building Toolkit for Families. Simply watch the Something Good Ain't Children's show. Review questions and challenges after each music video. Then discuss and set family and individual goals. We are Resilient You.
Everyone, I am resilient. I have the power to overcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making the promise to live and sharing this with all those with whom you influence. And I'll turn the time back over to Brandy.
Thank you all for coming today, and thank you to the panelists and the speakers. I think what's most important is the wheel. What does your wheel look like? You know, if you have a breakdown at home, if you have a breakdown in the workplace, if you have a breakdown in your family, then things aren't going to go well. And so building resilience with the kids at school, connecting with them at home, monitoring social media, reaching out to the schools, reaching out to the workplaces, connecting with the brotherhood, connection cures contention. All of these programs are just critical. And there's so many things we can do. And it can be overwhelming because you say, it's such a huge problem. Like, what can I really do? And everybody always says, somebody should do something. But who's that going to be? I think it's up to us to be that somebody. And what we need to do are take all of these programs and the programs that many of you are involved in and say, okay, what are you working on? What are you doing? How can we collaborate? Today, I'm not here. I don't care. I don't care about money at all. This has nothing to do with money. That's not what this is about. What today is about is building a team. We need a team of ambassadors. We need you. We need people within your organization. We need people within your community to start connecting, to start making the promise, to start sharing hope, to find resources and tools. When I was in crisis in the hospital, I didn't know where to go or what to do, and everything was so scattered. I didn't know who to believe, what to trust, and all I knew was pain at that moment. We're trying to gather all of the pieces. We want to know who you are and what you're doing and how we can work together. Because when it comes to saving lives, whether it's yours or your children's, it all matters, and we need to be a team. So my ask for you today is, before you leave, if you're willing to be involved in what we're doing, will you please see me or see Angelique in the back? And just give us your name and say, my company or myself, we're involved. Our plan is we're working to create materials with some of these people, with other groups, and we'll be crafting this. But after the holidays, which we all want you to go connect with your families, but in January, we have a plan. We have a blueprint. We're working on content, vetted content from all the brilliant minds and resources that are here, but putting them in a place to where you can actually implement them easily within your organization. We want you to be the ambassador to say, I can't do everything for everyone, but I can do something for someone. And maybe it's even you having the courage to reach out and say this. So I'm thankful for that. Please see me at the door before you go, or talk to Angelique. My contact information is up here. Can you guys just take out your phones real quick and scan that QR? This is the Promise to Live. If you haven't made it yet, please make it. Please share it. We're not sharing your information. That's not about it at all. The only thing we want to do is get you to make a promise right now that you're going to stick around, that even when it's hard, and we know it's hard. I sat with 100 women last night. I just want each of you to know you matter. The world is better because you are in it. We need you. It's never better without you. Whatever challenge you're going through, whatever trial, whatever hardship, we got you. You don't have to do it alone. Nothing is irreparable. I love you. Thank you for being here. What we want to do now is just take our final minutes. I think we have about 15 minutes, and just open this up for Q&A. So if you have a question for anybody here on the panel with what we're doing or anything in that matter, raise your hand, get a microphone, because we do need to record the audio for the stream. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Does anyone have a thought or a question? Yeah, what is your name?
My name is Danielle.
Okay, we'll get...
Okay. I just have a quick question. Where funding comes into these kind of programs, is the insurance company a partner? Are insurance companies participating, especially even in companies? What's the association with where that becomes part of the HR, or it becomes part of the whole team of every company?
That's a deep question beyond my payroll, because as my nonprofit, we've been basically bootstrapping. As the way I was doing it, this was my way to pay it forward. So I put everything I had personally into it. Mm-hmm. We do some fundraising, but when it comes to insurance, I know that there's some groups. So if you have an answer for it, and some of them are doing great things, but.
Unfortunately, it is a little disjointed. There are multiple resources and multiple people, like in the government, we have great resources. The healthcare companies have resources. They have hotlines. They have lots of different pieces. The biggest problem is the message does not get out. And there's a lot of people with resources that are available that don't even know they're there. And majority of health benefits cover mental health premiums. They cover premiums, they cover visits, they cover all these different things. People don't even know they're there. And for me personally, I had a group of 200 people that I was over. Less than 10% of them actually knew that resource was actually available to them. And it didn't matter. We talked about it every year. That people are just not aware of it. So it's very disjointed and kind of hard, but it's something we can hopefully pull together and have more and more resources and time and people talking about it, because it's really talking about it more than anything that helps.
Thank you for that. And there's also a lot of other great resources. I did not know about NAMI, NAMI.org. I didn't know about AFSP. I didn't know about Live On. All I knew is my daughter is laying here and we don't know if she's going to live. Now is not the time to try to find these resources. So what we want to do with Promise to Live is gather all the resources, put them in a central location, and say, come here if you need help. That's my goal with it, because it is hard to know. And until you're in the situation, it's kind of like, in one ear and out the other. Like, I'm not affected by suicide or mental health. I don't necessarily need to know, but then you are. And so thank you for that. Steve.
Yes. So quick comment and then a question. So my quick comment is, when you made the comment about reaching out to somebody, so I texted my 2 sons that live in Arizona, and what do you think their response was?
What do you want?
Yeah, are you okay? Because I said, I love you, hope you guys are doing well. And I'm like, okay, I need to do that more. So here's my question, and maybe this is a question for Nate. I'm lucky because I work for a company that has amazing support for employees and EAP and everything like that. But some of the worst trauma that I have had as an adult, where I even kind of thought, man, is this worth it, was at a workplace where I was bullied by coworkers, and I feel like I'm pretty good, like I'm in pretty good mental health, but I was so traumatized, and it took me months to recover from that. So how do CEOs hold managers and employees accountable for each other and make it a safe place?
I don't know if this will be welcomed or not, but zero tolerance. We have zero tolerance at Gab. If you bully, if you belittle, if you gang up on, if you're constant, you're gone. We just don't even, I believe in second chances, but not in the case of impacting many. So we very rarely have it, but there have been a couple of times where we have had an employee specifically target someone, and as soon as the details are clear and we're fair in how we've evaluated it, they're gone. If you tolerate it, you're letting your culture sit in a place that defaults to that lowest point, or that toxic point, or that abusive point. So the only way I know how to deal with it, and we have as a leadership team, is absolute zero tolerance.
I also wanted to add on just a little bit to that. Another aspect too of zero, besides zero tolerance, which is great, I personally think, is also having leadership set the example. So if you want to see a certain behavior within your workforce, you need to be the person to condone it, and act the way you expect people to act, and constantly maybe put out reminders as well that this is the type of workplace we have, this is the support that I'd like to see, this is what we do and expect of you.
I just want to echo those words and just say it starts from the top. I think leaders of companies have an opportunity to be open and vulnerable with who they're working with, and if this has happened to me before, where I was nervous to reach out to a boss about a mental health struggle, because then they're going to say, oh, he's not stable, or because there's such that stigma around mental health. And so when leaders lead and they allow for space to talk about these things, that's where the conversation changes. And all they need is permission from leaders to be vulnerable. And when they see that in their leadership, it will go throughout the whole organization.
Greatness flows from the top down, not from the bottom up. It's what they hire, it's the culture they set. And if your leader is lacking in that kind of greatness, time to find a new company.
One thing we've found, it's easy, and I'm one of these people, I can be sarcastic, and so people don't really know what bullying is and what damage their words are doing to the other employees or coworkers. So it's really important to set the standards, and even for companies, myself, we go through it, we want to know the training and what bullying is, what's allowed, what isn't, and what those lines are. And so training and having that toolkit together is really important.
Thank you. Dave Burton? And then Cynthia and Mike.
In support of the effectiveness of Brandy's Promise to Live, there was a person who,
A little louder.
there's a person who hadn't actually made the promise to live, but had only heard about it, and was contemplating suicide, but then heard an advertisement on the radio for Promise to Live, and because of that, I got a telephone call, and that person made that call because of just hearing her radio ad. So it is effective, and it does make a difference.
Thank you for that, Dave. Thank you. Cynthia.
Thank you for what you
pleasure.
do. You have us all here right now, right? I don't know, 80 or 60 of us. I know that you're putting a plan together, that you have a board that is working on something after the holidays. But you have us here today. I want an action that I want to take. I did text my 3 of the 4 boys. My 4th boy is out of the country, so I can't reach him right now. But and I told them that I love them too. But I'm Latin, so I do that all the time. So they didn't think anything of it. I said, okay, there's mom again. But I want to go through the holidays with this in mind. And what would that be? Until we wait for your plan of action that is in the works.
Thank you. I love that. I think each of you guys got your Promise to Live pocket hug today that says, if you're struggling, here's a hug from me to you. The biggest thing that everybody talks about is disconnecting to connect. So what's the best gift you can give right now that I can ask of you? Connect with the people you love the most. Check in on them. Send them a text. Send them a call. Share this message. Ask the hard question. Ask somebody in their eyes, are you feeling suicidal? Honest questions get honest answers. You're not going to plant a thought, I promise. That's what studies say. I'm not an expert. But they need to know that they can talk to you. They need to know they're loved. We all need to know we matter, no matter who you think. I mean, some of us look at people like the ones up here, but Nate. We look at people like Robin Williams and Twitch and some of these amazing people who look like they've got it all. And we sit back from our social media going, Mary's beautiful. She's got the perfect life. We're all fighting battles you don't know anything about. We're all going through it. So it doesn't matter how amazing you think somebody is or how good they have it. Do this. If you're struggling, reach out to somebody and say, I'm struggling. I could use a little bit of help. If you're not struggling, reach out to those around you and say, hey, you're on my mind. How are you doing? How are you really doing? I love you. Have you done this thing? There's this Promise to Live campaign. Get people to make the promise. Mentally, you might feel like that's manipulative. I don't care. I don't care if I'm bribing you to get you to stick around or stay because you feel like I made a promise, I can't break it. That's fine if that means you're still here with me. How many in this room have lost someone, if you're comfortable sharing? What would you give to have them here? So our project last night, 100 women, each of them got a handwritten letter from me and a few other volunteers. And we're talking a letter. And I sat and I prayed about it, and some people meditated and did whatever they wanted to do and said, okay, what does this person need to know? I wrote 15 letters yesterday, long ones, and I put a pocket hug in there. And we did this event last night, and all 100 women showed up, and we laid them out on the table, and I said, no 2 letters are the same. Everyone has a different message, and one of them's for you. See which one you want and pick it. And they picked it and they read it, and I had at least 20 people come up to me and say, how did you know I needed that? That card was just for me. So maybe you want to write some cards. Maybe you want to hand them out. I keep them in my car. If you're well enough off and you want to do something with $5, $10, $20, I keep cards in my car. And when I go through the drive-thru or I go through the checkout line or I just feel it, I give it. And it says in there, you're not alone. You matter. I see you today, and you might feel like it, whatever. And it's just a little something. So we'll have these pocket hugs available, and my goal is to have everybody have one, but just check on those you love. That's what I think is the most important thing, and the best action you can take right now. Yeah.
I made a promise to me that I was going to see people. And you can do that right now, today. At the end of the day, I kind of make a mental list. Who did I see today that knew I saw them? And I have enough friends in this room that know what it's like to be seen by me. It's something we can all do. So simple, but to ask to be seen. When you see someone, they suddenly feel they belong. And belonging is the number one thing that suicidal people feel they don't have. So think every time you walk by someone. Think every time you walk into a room. Think when you get home, I want to see them.
I love those. One more actionable item that I think is powerful and creates ripples is share your story. If you knew sharing your story would save a life today, would that make it worth it for you? And I think what we've seen is you share your story, 20 people will reach out to you and say, thank you so much. And then they'll start sharing their story. And then those people will share their stories. And it's this ripple effect that lasts into hundreds and thousands of people.
I love the ripple effect. I thought of one thing as you were saying that. If people can hate for no reason, why can't we love for no reason? About 6 months ago, I started this thing where I was going through the airport, and everybody I looked at, I made eye contact, and I said in my head, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it was funny because they're passing me on the escalator, and I'm just looking at them saying, I'm sending you, I love you. Our energy is powerful. And I've had people come up and say, I'm so drawn to you. I'm like, because I love you. You might not know it, but that's something that we can all do today. We can look at each other and say, I love you. You don't have to say it verbally if you're, normal. You can, but I say it in my mind, and I think it translates. Honestly, I do.
I have a neighbor, he does that. He's spent 30 or 40 years walking up to people and saying, have I told you I loved you today? And just makes this conversation feel normal and just goes through the whole process and does it. It's amazing. He does it to me every time, and every time I smile and I said, I love you right back. That's amazing. I love it. But it's those little things make such a big difference for people that are struggling. Just to say, hey, how are you doing today? I really want to check on you. And it's amazing how many times you catch people in a bad spot. So.
Any other questions? You need a mic? Okay, one sec.
There's nothing like that one-on-one connection. That is certainly the most powerful one. But let's not forget, those that are in a position of influence and have that ability to radiate that information, we should use that. We should use that because that can be powerful too. So influencers, if you are in a position to influence people, numbers, get that Promise to Live campaign going in your business or in your connections, whatever you have, because that's what's going to really promote this program. So.
Yeah, it's so simple yet significant. People can get on there. Making a promise might hold them accountable. Sharing that starts these conversations. You do become the safe place, and there is a ripple effect. So thank you for that. And that is one thing we want when you lead from the top. And that's our goal. CEOs, executives, influencers, we want you to lead from the top. We have one question over here first.
Hi, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you're doing. One of the questions I have just generally is this AI tsunami that's going to come, and it's going to disconnect people even more. I'm just curious how you're thinking about that. And then at the government level in Utah, we have an AI policy group going on right now that's nudging legislation and the governor's thoughts about that. And we would love to hear from people in the room, because I think if there's a really rich conversation, we've been going around having conversations around the state for the last about month.
Mm-hmm.
The more folks like this that show up having that conversation, we're hoping we can get ahead of the AI tsunami before it happens like social media did, where it never got touched
Right.
until it was too late. So I want to throw that out there so people are thinking about it and jump into the conversation.
I think that might be a good question for Nate. I mean, where you guys deal in, on the spot, dealing in technology and safe tech, why is it important, especially with the onset of new technologies, AI and deep fakes and all these things? Are there proactive steps that you're making, or I guess resources or help that you might want to share?
That is a hard question.
That's why I gave it to you.
I don't have a perfect answer, but I do know that our kids are learning about AI and ChatGPT at a faster rate than we can comprehend, and they're already farther ahead than us. So when we think that we're guiding them or counseling them on the do's and don'ts of AI, they are already way past that. And they are going to be a generation that will be significantly impacted, which is why the only way to get less of is to disconnect more. And I know it sounds so simple, but when we sit down and talk to your kids, and we do panels all the time with kids, and I look them in the eye and I say, how are you feeling today? And they start to cry and say, I'm overwhelmed by my phone. If they're overwhelmed by their phone, imagine what AI will do to them over time. We've got to have tech plans with our kids, and we've got to teach them that it's okay to be disconnected. So I don't have a perfect AI answer, but I do know that we got to put those phones down and get away from tech and allow our kids to be kids, or they're going to be more consumed than they ever have been before.
We were with a university a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how AI is coming into the mental health space and what our thoughts were on it. And it's already here. And they surveyed a bunch of students. I think it was like 75 students in a couple of their classes, and 100% of them said they would listen to the AI on mental health first before reaching out. So it's here, they're using it. We need to just make sure the positive and the right resources are out for them, and they're hearing the right messaging, and then they know where to go.
So as a technologist, and I've been building machine learning and AI for many years, please get involved now, understand what it means, understand what your kids are using and why they're using it, and try to understand better before it's too late, because technology is not great, let's say it that way. They had a recent AI study that they had started to have it interact with other people, and it started using racist and derogatory language within 24 hours. So it's a great technology if you control it and understand what's happening. So my advice, being in technology for 30 years, loving it and having to use it, get involved early, understand what your kids are doing, what people are using it for, and understand how it impacts you so that you can help them to do the right way to use technology. And disconnecting, love it. Yes, disconnect as much as possible and make those kids go outside.
Okay, last comment with Steve.
As we teach our children to disconnect, and as we teach them, they need to be empowered and take the control back from technology, but from drugs, alcohol, whatever might be controlling our children. We need to teach them that they can be empowered in this modern world, and that as a family, as we disconnect, that we can set guidelines that can help protect our children, because our charge as adults and as parents is protecting our children and protecting them from those forces that will try to control. And as we take that control back, we can be empowered.
All right, we are out of time, guys. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's 2 o'clock, so I think we're gonna, I know there's more questions. If you want to pull us aside, great. We're planning to do our next one January 18th. Please mark your calendar. My contact information is up here. My goal is, again, create this community of collaboration. How can we support one another? Because if we're all up there at the top of this cliff, we can save a lot more people than being at the bottom. So thank you for being here. Please reach out. Please see me or Angelique before you leave, and let me know if you're in, where you're at, and how we can round back up for next year. So thank you again. Give our panelists a round of applause.